this equals traverse point. That equals fence line. We need a space and a tree line. Could be a tree line or brush. So you can name it either or. In our case, we'll just name it tree line, so I can go back in and edit that. Again, I can change the font size on any of these. I can either change it this way or double click on it and change the actual font. Here you can put in some lines and columns for coordinate list, northing, easting. You can go down here and put in your, I'm gonna get tired of looking at that. So, you can put in coordinate list, northeast, and elevation. You may need to make the box a little bit bigger or wider so you can expand or retract it. Let's say that you've done all this work and we suddenly realize that I'm getting too crowded and I need to move a lot of stuff. So here we go. We're going to move all this over again. Now, that means you got to move each one of those things? Well, not really. You can do it this way. If I can draw, whoops. If I can draw a box around this. And I didn't get it all. Let's just do part of it. Now I can grab this entire thing, anything that's highlighted, grab that right by the tree, and move the whole shoot match over. When I right click and unexplode that, the shadows will go away. Oop, missed it. So there it is, it's moved. The whole thing. So, it's not as difficult to adjust as one thinks. Now, we also would probably have another box in here with benchmark descriptions and curve data, horizontal and vertical curves. We also need a scale bar and a north arrow for our drawing. So we go back to draw supplemental. Let's go to scale bar. 2 inches big enough. I'm going to stick it there and say yes. And then we want to go back to draw supplemental. I need another north arrow. And we'll put it there. So I can now move all this. And if that north arrow looks too large, I can adjust it. Typically the north arrow is somewhat centered or close to the scale bar. And if I knew the scale, I could actually put the numbers in here. So this would be a half, 1 inch, whoops, half, 1 inch, 2 inch. So right here, I know it's going to be a 0, so I could go ahead and put a 0 in there. But that's not going to change. So I've got a 0. Now, how do we find out what the scale is? Well, you got to make a test print. And you're going to measure this. And let's say with a ruler, 2 inches on your 11 by 17 sheet of paper comes to right about there. So you're going to hold your pencil or your finger on the screen. I'm going to click on this. Now this is really scientific, and I'm going to squeeze this down to about where I've got a 2 inch bar. And I'm going to move this over. I'm going to move this over. And how do we know what the scale is, 1 inch to what? Well, once I have printed this and I know what the size of my scale wire should be, I'm going to measure from, say, 12 to 6, and let's say that comes up to 3 3/4 inches. And it says that this is 229 point some odd feet. 229.25. So I take 229.25 and I divide that by 3.75 inches, and I get feet per inch. So let's say that comes out to 53. So what I'm going to do is put over here a text of 1 inch equals 50. And that's going to be close enough. The reason why that's close enough, if you ever estimate off of a half-size set of plans, which is an 11 by 17, even though it's going to have a scale on it because it was copied from a full-size scale drawing, either done by CAD or by hand, every time this is Xeroxed, the scale slightly changes. So if you scale off of a half-size set of drawings, for estimating purposes, you don't want to have a very precise estimate because you're not going to have one. In other words, you cannot trust the scale. You can't divide it by 2, so thinking that's a 1 inch to 25 feet, it won't work. It'd be a very poor method of estimating. So don't ever scale a small drawing. But I want you to put this on here, so that's what we've got. Now then, how do we know everything is right? Well, the next thing is we're going to print it. First of all, you want to save it to your H drive. And I wouldn't work terribly long without hitting that little icon right there and saving that. So now we're going to go to File, Plot Drawing, Fit to Page, and this is the dangerous part. If you have not saved it and you end up doing the printing procedure incorrectly, like try to print to this PDF generator, that happens to be a server. Servers don't print. Servers tell printers to print. So if you try to print to this, it locks up the system. You have to shut the computer completely off and reboot it, and anything not saved is gone. So we want to get to the lab printer. Next, go to Properties. We want to go to the paper. We're going to select 11 by 17. Whoops. Basics, I want to go to Landscape because it's wider than it is tall. And then we're going to say OK. And don't get too excited because your drawing is still here, even though it's going to soon disappear. What it's now showing you is the outline of 11 by 17. It says plot to fit. Yes, I hope so. So click on yes. 10 millimeter border is the default. Say OK. There's your drawing. And you can see that I need to expand my drawing in the north-south direction significantly.